it's so hot. Have you ever heard about the heat wave going towards Europe? It's starting to be a real thing in my country. Never mind, I have 15 seconds to tell you whether it is worth buying a cheaper M365 copycat. But I can't. Therefore, I'm gonna mention 3 keywords. First of all, puncture-less tires. Secondly, better folding mechanism. And thirdly, the range. You've been invited on a ride. So, welcome everybody, my name is Michael. It's the Tech4O channel, the place where we inspect cool tech, and there's something interesting. An M365 copycat. Do you know how many copycats there are for the so-called Mi M365 scooter by Xiaomi? Even I don't know. There even are multiple revisions of the original M365. And what I mean here is that, first of all, there are some versions with different logo. The newer say Mi, depending on the region. The older say Mi M365, and we have slightly different folding mechanisms. And I've seen some variations in the rubber. But never mind, it's normal, because it's a scooter that is so popular, and we know that in a time frame of 2 years, obviously some suppliers changed, some parts have changed, and so on. Now, concerning this copycat, it's called MacWheel. Their website is imacwheel.com, and the model is called MX1, something that you can buy on Amazon for almost, well, used to be $100 less than the M365, but when there are some discounts, prices are quite similar. I saw yesterday the original Mi scooter for $399. Well, this one was costing still somewhere around $379, and they can ship worldwide. So essentially Amazon and their official website is how you can get it, and perhaps multiple other places. What is interesting about this scooter is that it actually has construction and body which is, in my opinion, the original M365 body. I believe that they use the same structure to put their own customized take on this scooter, where they've done some things which are better and some things which, in my opinion, are not as good as on the Mi M365 scooter. When we talk about scooters, based on all the comments I've had on the previous Mi M365 videos and my conversations with random people, I think there are 4 topics that usually people are interested at. The price, the range that it's going to cover, the tires, aka comfort, and the motor and overall riding performance. So yeah, I'm obviously going to cover these 4 topics, and I'll very closely compare with the original M365 scooter. Now, why I picked the MacWheel copycat for review? The reasons are a few. These tires are puncture-less, very special, so they don't have a valve, quite obviously. So no inflating needed, no maintenance needed, no punctures, no worries. How is this even possible? Well, going into MacWheel's website, we can see that the tires are foam-filled, microwave closed self-foaming. And to get greater strength, they have steel wire protection, and the outcome is that on the outside you have the original M365 tire, and on the inside the material is quite soft. I'm on around 100 kilometers on this one, not that much obviously, but I can tell one thing: these tires are as good as inflatable tires, maybe even better, considering the comfort and, most importantly, being relaxed about never getting a puncture. There are 2 things I don't know yet about these tires. First of all, how are they getting replaced? And my guess is that they are factory integrated. Try to get in touch with the MacWheel support, but I'm still waiting for a response. If I get any, I'm gonna leave it as a comment in the section right below the video. The second thing I'm wondering about is how they perform in long term. Because 100 kilometers, they're apparently something, but not enough to figure out if a device, or obviously a part of this device, is durable or not. According to the website, they should be really durable, and they're not getting any impact by weather conditions, whether it's going to be too cold or too hot. But yeah, now it's summer. Apparently by the end of the summer, I'll certainly have more information about that. My second favorite thing, the folding mechanism. Let me show you. Oops. And now going back, this nice click, moving up. Now, most importantly, look that there is absolutely no movement. No matter how much I try, you don't feel this click, this elevation that you gain with original mechanism of the original M365 after 100 kilometers. So, in my opinion, this is way better and much more reliable than what we have on the original Mi Scooter. Probably not that much better compared to the new revisions of that scooter, but overall some of the parts are different. I think this thing on the front is done out of better material and it should be much more durable. I had to do no adjustment after 100 kilometers, and the mechanism on my original M365 needed a slight adjustment, actually not so slight adjustment after just 50, so I think it's a win for MacWheel here. Going further, the body seems to be done out of the same aluminum. I actually have the feeling it's exactly the same as the M365 body, including the dimensions, so it wouldn't be a surprise if it's really original. I wish the bottom was different. It is not, and if you have to remove mud from it, feels like a punishment. To the rest of the hardware specifications, there's a 270 watt-hour battery. They don't disclose the actual capacity, but you can calculate it. The M365 battery is 280 watt-hours, so it's slightly bigger. My usual achievement with the M365 is 2 to 3 kilometers more than that. So I was a little disappointed. I actually wanted to tell you that this thing is something similar to the M365 Pro, but considering this short range, apparently it is not. So what do we have so far? A better price, worry-free tires, which is really a great achievement. So now we carry on with the rest of the settings and the rest of the features. The motor, which is again in the front wheel, it's more powerful. It's a 350 watt motor. It can go as fast as 15.6 miles per hour. There's a display with real-time information, a bell, a dual brake system, support for up to 120 kilos, 3 gears, cruise control, front and rear light. I think that's enough. And the weight is 13 kilos or 28 pounds. Now, I bet the next thing you're gonna wonder about is whether this motor here is really better than the M365. Yes, it is. Just a little bit. 350 versus 250 sounds like a great deal. Don't forget that the 250 on the Mi Scooter has a peak power of 500 watts, and we have customized firmwares which can unleash up to 1 kilowatt, which sounds drastic, and of course it has a very negative impact on battery life. Well, for light people not really, but for a person like me which weighs around 90 kilos, yes, definitely does. So yeah, this one deals better with inclines. It doesn't stop where the M365 motor stops. There's one aspect which is really important to me, and this is that when the battery is with a charge less than 50%, you still have good thrust. You still have power in the motor. With the M365 and firmwares above 141, there's a serious degradation in terms of power, and when the battery goes below 50%, it feels like you're in eco mode during most of the time. It doesn't happen with this one. It really goes very slowly when there's only 1 bar in the display, in the battery level. So yes, the motor is in some ways better, and that really counts, especially when the battery level is below 50%. And it definitely is not as powerful as the one on the M365 Pro. It has no cares, so it has no electricity regeneration, and this is nothing bad. In fact, some people believe that if you disable the battery regeneration in the original M365, this is actually going to increase the range a little bit. The braking system is quite nice. Also, there's the second part of the brake, which engages the motor, and I still feel that it's not so good. I'm somehow not too convinced by the brakes. Let me show you a basic test about the braking distance with both scooters. There's a rear light, which, like the original, has no water protection. The front light, which is not as good as on the M365. And let me show you the display. Honestly, outdoors, it's rather useless. It's very hard to see anything, especially on a sunny day. Long press is for power on, short press is for switching between gears, and double press is going to start or stop the front light. Acceleration is identical to the Mi Scooter, but the throttle does not feel that nice. At least there's cruise control, but it makes no beep when initiated, so that's something you might need to try a few times in order to activate it. It's already quite late, but I think I'm gonna soon need a hydration break. Okay, things that are missing. So I'm holding my smartphone. It's useless. It is useless. There's no Bluetooth, therefore there is no application. Having no Bluetooth means a few things. First of all, you don't have record of your mileage. I was super disappointed to figure out that you actually have no indication about your total mileage. So right now, even though I know I'm somewhere around 100 kilometers, I don't know exactly how many I have. So it could be a speculation. The second thing, it's only miles per hour, which is great for the American market, but every other place which is outside the USA and uses kilometers or meters per hour, we have to do better calculations with maths, which is not terrible. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, something we can live with. Now, third big disadvantage of not having a smartphone app, you don't really get any firmware updates, so you can't really mess around with the firmware on the motors, which is something a lot of people enjoy doing with the original Mi Scooter. So yeah, that was a third disappointment related to the lack of Bluetooth. Speaking of more minuses, the bell got stuck a few times. It's actually louder, but sometimes you can't use it. And the front part of the display, we said it's a kind of weird. Look, it just pops out. Here's some analysis of typical rides. Since there was no app information, I used my watch GPS, and you can see the average speed, and I was surprised to see that the battery lasted almost equally when I was riding at a maximum on third gear, and when I was trying to be more conservative, running on the second gear. Actually, the expectations, at least which I had, was that I'm going to squeeze a bit more, and the actual difference was around mile and a half between the two gears. And actually, when I use the sports mode on the M365, I get distance X, and then when I'm using the Eco mode, I'm getting X plus maybe 3 to 4 kilometers, which is definitely more, and if I'm even more careful, I can squeeze even more out of the battery. So what is the bottom line? I feel like I'm gonna start pole dancing with this. That wouldn't look good. Bottom line, actually I'll speak of one problem that I experienced just yesterday, because I was riding in very wet conditions. This was actually raining a little bit. They say you shouldn't ride when it is raining. I did it. My bad. So obviously when things got really muddy and wet, obviously there was some water going somewhere between the wheel and the mud guard, and probably somehow reached the wires. But at some point I got like throttle going on and off without actually pressing the lever, which was kind of scary. The only thing I was able to do is to just press the brakes, but then it was throttling. As soon as you leave the brake alone, it was throttling again. It disappeared maybe 5 minutes after it started, but yeah, that was a little disturbing. Now, since it's really dry and it's very hot, I don't experience this anymore, but definitely I wouldn't ride this anymore if it is raining, which is yeah, I was riding a lot with the M365 in wet weather, never got this. So anyhow, time for a summary. Well, the tires are definitely a great thing. I'm still wondering whether I can buy such a thing for the M365, because if there's the possibility to mount them aftermarket, like not buying the whole motor with the tire as an assembly, that would be great. Secondly, the folding mechanism. I trust this folding mechanism much more than the way I trust on the M365. It's simply better. And it's definitely more durable, with the exception of these screws, which don't look right. I mean, it's really weird how they chose such silly looking screws. Thirdly, the range. My expectations were a bit higher. They say 25 to 30 kilometers, which is around 18 dot something miles in perfect conditions. My imperfect achievement was up to 15, 16 kilometers on third gear. Yeah, a little more with the second gear, which is slightly worse than what I get on the M365. Riding comfort is great. The motor is more powerful. The price is better. You can use all the accessories that are fitting the M365, including mounts here for shopping bags, including these protective things that you can put on the bottom so that you avoid the punishment of having to clean this. This actually, yeah, it's a little bit better than the original. And all the other goodies that we know about the M365 without the firmware modifications. So let me know how you like it based on what you see, and probably the question would be, would you ever give your money, even if it's less to pay, to a non-original M365? My name is Michael. It's been a great pleasure to have you here in the last few minutes, and I'm looking forward to see you again at the Tech4Road channel. Have a great day.